Alex here with a high conflict child custody video on nation of laws with a question mark. I'm doing a lot more of these lately. I guess this video is prompted by those current events with regards to protesters entering, I guess, the well of the Senate floor, and like there's like a picture going around on social media with one of the protesters sitting in like I guess the president's chair, not the actual president of the U.S., but I think the president of the Senate or something like that. Anyway, the reason I wanted to do this video, this isn't a news channel, but I thought it was highly relevant to high conflict child custody specifically. In some ways, it's relevant to some of the other areas of the channel, but mainly high conflict child custody. And that's because of the problem of discretion, but I'll go into that a little bit more. What prompted the video is the statements of that these people don't understand it's a nation of laws and we follow laws and all that stuff. And I don't think that they're lying, these TV personalities, when they say these things, but I just think they just don't know. I don't think they know either because they're wealthy enough to afford attorneys and get sort of the better end of the legal system, or because they just haven't litigated at all. And most of the people here are litigating high conflict child custody cases. And so they say these things, and it's mostly, I think, out of ignorance. And I think it also represents why there's a disconnect between, you could say, I guess, the protesters and the people who are saying we're in a nation of laws and that's bad. I know the channel could, I mean, sorry, not the channel. I know the video could become, I guess, political, like Trump versus Biden and all that stuff. But I don't really care about that stuff. I just care about this phrase, nation of laws, because my perspective of going through the high conflict child custody case that I went through was the judge just ignored the laws. The attorneys didn't care. So I never felt like the law was something that the family court and the family bench bar really cared about. I've talked about this in so many different videos. I feel like the most recent video that's on point is high conflict incompetence, but I know for sure that I've talked about this in other videos too. In any event, even when it came to the judges in my case violating the plain language of the statute, which is like statutory construction 101, I think they probably discussed that first year in law school. If not, I'd be pretty surprised. The such basic things that are ignored. Besides those things, we also have the problem of discretion, which is the legislature creating these gigantic windows of discretion for the judiciary, which in a way becomes sort of lawless because there's no strict rule as to what the judge is supposed to do. So you have these two problems. You have the problem of the judges not following the laws, and so have to file a multitude of appeals to get their decisions overturned on appeal, which it's nice that the Supreme Court actually cares enough to do that. But then you have the problem of statutes that are being enacted that really aren't statutes for the most part. They create so much discretion that you really just have judges, with rare exceptions in family court, able to do almost anything. And so the reason I chose for this to be a high conflict child custody video is because I feel like this is the one thing that most of society goes through. I feel like probably 50%, somewhere around there, go through one of these cases. Maybe not high conflict, but they're at least going through the legal system. And so this is kind of where I guess you could say most average people's experience is when it comes to court. There are other areas, I guess you could say, landlord tenant collections and stuff like that, but oftentimes people who are poor that can't afford attorneys, they just let those things go. They just don't care. When it comes to your kids, it's very different. All of a sudden there's a lot of poor people who care, and they can't afford an attorney. They don't care. They just represent themselves, go to court because they care about their kids, and it's just a different ball game. So I wanted to, I guess, kind of reflect on this with this video, that there is an obvious disconnect between, I don't know what you want to call them, the ruling class, the people who aren't poor, of these two different perspectives. One perspective is we're a nation of laws and all this stuff is supposed to be organized, and then the other side is like, I haven't seen any laws when it came to my kids. I mean, I just saw wing it judges and wing it lawyers, and it was the sloppiest thing ever, and that's kind of why this channel's starting to build up. And in the event, yeah, it's, you know, most of, if not all of the channel, I talk about how the solution is stricter laws and the solution is applying them correctly. I can't think of an example in this channel where I've said anything but that. And so even though I'm on sort of the other side of that, I guess that dichotomy, those two, types of people, I guess I still actually agree with the statement of well, maybe I should say I agree with the statement of we should be a nation of laws, because I don't think we're there. I think that if you are in the justice court, in the municipal court, these teeny tiny courts, I think if you're in an administrative hearing of some sort, like unemployment, I don't know if any of this is starting to kind of show up as a pattern to you guys, but these are the things that regular old poor people, average people go through. Issues with their boss, issues with their landlord, tiny court cases and tiny courthouses. Most average people don't go into district court, into superior court and supreme court, court of appeal. We don't have contact with that stuff. It's out of our reach. That's where rich people are. That's where gigantic corporations are, businesses are. I've showed a lot of people how to get there with this channel. Like, file a notice of appeal. Next thing you know, you're in the Supreme Court of Nevada, just like that. But, I just think that it's disappointing to hear rhetoric and not actually see the people who are in power actually try to make this a country of laws for all of us, for everyone, for people, for landlord tenant type stuff, for unemployment type stuff, and most importantly for child custody stuff, because that's our kids. We're supposed to, at least they tell us on TV, it's all about your family and your kids, but then when it comes to the statutes, they're incredibly sloppy, they're wide open, and then you have these attorney fee statutes that allow the system to basically financially rape you. I talk about that in the video, Attorney Fee Equalizers, if you want to learn more. It's not just hyperbole. I go into a lot of detail about the issues with the statute that was enacted for child custody cases somewhat recently that basically is being used left and right to impose attorney fees awards against poor parents, poor people. Anyway, I mean, for me, the emotion is disappointment, and there's been a number of opportunities for, them to enact better statutes to control these high conflict child custody cases a lot better, and they haven't done that. In fact, I feel like lately they're going in the opposite direction when it comes to things like the attorney fee issue. And then we also have a family bench bar and a family judiciary that for the most part just does whatever it feels like doing. And if you can figure out how to file an appeal, then you can get their mistakes overturned sometimes. And if you can't do that, then you're definitely not living in a nation of laws. If you can't do that, you're just the judge basically just became a law unto himself once you lose access to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. Again, guys, as with my usual videos, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them down in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.